Hello and welcome to this week's tutorial in photo manipulation. You're going to be learning this week how to turn this into something like this. So we're going to start off by opening these images. So you'll need to download them from Moodle, and then when you've downloaded these three here, you'll need to start with this image here. So click File, Open, and open it. And then we'll need to duplicate the background layer here. So if you click and drag and drop it over the new layer, so you've got two backgrounds there. And if you click the magic wand tool, so if you can't access that, if it's not visible on yours, if you click and hold down, and then you should be able to find it there. And just click on anywhere in this black area here. Now you can see that it's selected most of the image around the outline, but we're missing a bit of his chin, so we're going to use this polygonal lasso tool. And if you can't find that, once again, click and hold down to find it. If you click Alt on your keyboard and then just draw around his chin there, and it's a case of clicking, because as you can see you kind of get this straight line. I prefer to use this, but you can use anything really. I'm just going to zoom in, Control and plus to zoom in, and again double click when you're happy with it. As you can see, I've just lost a bit of mine there. Just undo that because I clicked at the wrong time. So you can just see that I've got a little bit there. If you get anything like that really, you can just kind of go round it to get rid of it. So we've kind of got a basic outline of his chin. So what we need to do is just click delete on the keyboard, and that should get rid of your background. Now if you've got this background layer visible, you're not going to see it, but if you just click the eye off so that you can make sure that you have got rid of that layer. So just to show you the process then, we're going to be going from that, and you will need to start stretching his mouth out here so that we can apply these teeth here. So to do that you need to go to Filter and then Liquify, and if you use this tool here, you can start kind of moving things. It will look a little bit odd though at first, so we'll probably need to bloat it out a little bit. You could change the brush size here if you want to. Something a bit like that. Oh, that's a bit too far. So we're starting already to get a bit of a wider mouth. Something like that. And then if we use a larger brush size, we can kind of pull it down a little bit. I'll move this brush size down so we can kind of raise up his cheeks a little like that there, look. If you use a larger brush size, you're going to avoid this kind of like tearing that you get here. That's better. However, I don't want to lose all of his nose, so I'm going to pull a little bit of his nose down, like that. I might bring his ears up a little as well, making kind of a little bit more scary, I suppose. Okay, that looks okay. Just going to bring this back down a little. If you feel you've kind of overdone it a little, you can step backwards as well. And we are going to need to kind of bring his eyes out a little bit as well, because as you can see he's kind of squashed up a little too far now. So if we use this bloat tool again, just to kind of make his eyes ever so slightly bigger, like that. He's already starting to look a little bit scarier. Ooh, kind of made his nose a little too big now. Shrink it back down a bit. Oh, you might want to bring it in a little at the top there so that it still looks fairly natural. Okay. Something like that. So we've still got the original layer underneath there, but what we need to do now is cut out these teeth. So again, use your polygonal tool to cut round the teeth there, and as you can see, you'll need to copy and paste those. So once you've highlighted those, if you click Ctrl and C and then Ctrl and V, it'll paste it onto a new layer. So we'll need to separate this layer. So if you click hold of the tab at the top there and drag it down, and then if you click your move tool, you can move that layer over to your new layer on here. So you'd need to make sure obviously that your layer's selected for that. So what we need to do now is widen these teeth so that they're the same size and shape as those. So we're going to use the free transform tool, which is under the edit menu if you need it, or you can use the shortcut, which is Ctrl and T on the keypad. Now this time we're not holding down shift because we don't want to maintain its shape. We're just going to grab these sides here. Now you can see that we've got a little bit of overhang, and that's okay for now, doesn't matter too much. It's going to look a bit strange at first. It's going to look a bit strange when you finish as well, but we can kind of go for that. Now you can see on my finished version here I've actually raised his eyebrows a little, so we might go back into the liquid mode in a moment and move some of that around. So if you zoom in, now that you've pasted that, we need to get rid of and clean up a little bit this mouth here. So you'll need to use this eraser tool and ever so slightly round the edges, so you can start seeing his lips underneath really, because we need to make these teeth look like they're sitting in his mouth. So if we go around these edges here, start cleaning it up, and you can see I've kind of gone a bit too far there, so if we step backwards a little too far, because where you've stretched his lips, you will find that his lips have actually thinned out a little bit, so you have to be very careful with that. Okay, something like that to start off with. So you can see his lips are kind of looking a little bit more like they're outside of his teeth now. By all means zoom in, you can take a little bit more time on this. So I'm going to zoom into the middle of his mouth here, and we want to get rid of all this so we can see his tongue underneath. So I'm going to select a smaller brush, and we're going to kind of erase some of this. Now you can by all means use your polygonal tool again if you want to. I'm kind of doing it this way for now because I think it gives you a bit more of an edge around your tongue here. The tongue's going to look a little bit strange at first, that's okay. So as you'll see, it doesn't really look like a tongue at the moment. And then for those bits there, I am going to use the polygonal tool just to cut these bits out here because it'll take up a bit more time. Okay, I'm just doing this quickly so that I can show you how it's done, but by all means take a bit longer to do that. Just click delete when you get to the right point. So as you can see now, we've kind of got a bit of a tongue going on there. But I think maybe we could stretch that out a little bit because we want it to look fairly realistic. So if we go back onto the background layer, go to filter again, and this time we're going to go back to liquify. Don't click last filter because it will just apply the same effects. So if we take the brush size down a little, take it down on that one as well, we'll raise his eyebrows a little. And we still want them to look fairly natural, so we'll use this pucker tool actually and bring them in a little there. We'll just raise them a little bit there, so it's a little bit raised like that. Ooh, let's possibly a little too much now. So you can see that it starts to warp a little bit when you get a little bit too far. Okay, with his tongue then, we're going to bring his tongue down a little because we want it to look fairly tongue-like. Something like that, we'll try that. Okay, that looks okay, but again, I think we could probably get rid of a little bit more amongst these teeth here. Now, I'm aware that I'm actually on the wrong layer at the moment. That's okay. We'll just select the layer after we've gone around this bit here. So you can see that this tutorial is actually going to take you a little bit more time than the last one. Go back to your layer and then delete, so you get a little bit more of his tongue there. Okay, as I say, you can kind of zoom in a little, get rid of a bit more if you want, kind of move it around a bit more. As long as his teeth are not showing through too much underneath, because we don't want that. Okay, you can play around with that anyway. So, the next thing then, we need to put his eyes in there. And we're going to kind of move his ears around a little, change a little bit as well. So again, you get the polygonal tool, cut out the eye here. And again, we need to drag and drop that. Something like that. Now obviously that's far too big, so Control and T to take down the size of that. And again, you can tidy that up a little. Make sure you drag it from kind of off centre. Nope, because that will happen. If you Control and plus to zoom in, and you'll just position it. You can use these arrows on your keypad as well. Okay, you can create something like that, and then we'll just duplicate that because we want one on the other side. And then again, Control and T, and you can just flip it over like that if you want. We'll just position them so that the pupils are kind of aligned. Now on this side you can see his eyes slightly misshapen, so we are going to have to rotate it around a little bit, and again use your keypad to position them properly. Right, when you're happy with that, again we can go in and we can tidy this up a little. So we'll use this eraser tool. Just go around the top, make sure that you've got the right layer selected. Around the bottom there, so it looks a little bit more like it's sitting within his eye. And we can fade this out a little and stretch that out a bit. We'll do that in a moment. And again on this side, so we need, just undo that because I think selected the wrong layer there. Okay, so you should have something relatively similar to that. Now we'll use this smudge tool slightly to smudge out, if we get a bigger brush than that, smudge out his eye so that it's starting to look a little bit more like it's fading in. Obviously we need to select the right layer again. Careful if you smudge in as well, because as you'll see with mine, this sort of shape of your eye will change ever so slightly. So we've got something like that. So that's your basics really. So you can see it's starting to look something like that. Now I'm going to go back into Liquify because I want to make his ears a little bit more pointy. So we'll just go back to that. Take the brush size down again actually. You can see it's starting to look something like that. Give him a little bit more of a scary edge. Okay, now I think with these teeth they do look a little bit kind of photoshopped on at the moment, so maybe we'll just play around with it a little, see if we can find something. No, I don't think we will in this situation. So we'll just undo that. Okay, you can see his teeth are starting to come through a little bit there, so I am going to extend this up again. We'll just change the shape slightly. Change the brush so that it's harder, because I think when we deleted it before it was starting to look a little bit soft around the edges. Okay, that looks okay. We can play around with it if you want to. Right, so we need to now add a little bit more to his eyebrows. So again, go back into Liquify. You can, make sure you got the right layer selected though. You can freeze certain parts of it. So for instance, if you wanted to freeze his eyes there, you just draw over those areas. We don't want to move his hands either, or his ears. And then now you should be able to raise those a little. Let's try that, let's see how that looks. Looks okay. Again, just be a bit more careful with yours because I'm doing this quite quickly, and then you can get rid of those eyebrows there a little bit more. So now I think we need a little bit of kind of wrinkle on the top. So we're going to take some of this wrinkling around the edge here. So if you just go round with the polygonal tool, Control and C, Control and V, and you can see that's duplicated. Might not look perfect, we might have to swap this over. You can see it's not looking ever so realistic at this point, but that's okay. And we'll go around the edge with the soft tool, soft eraser here. Just to add a little bit of wrinkling to his eyebrows. We'll duplicate that on the other side as well. Now, looks a little bit odd at the moment. We can perhaps play around with the blending tools as well until we get something that we're happy with. We might just want to keep it the same actually with this one. Overlay looks okay, so we'll go with that. Something like that. Okay. Now I do want to add a little bit more kind of like, I don't know, speckling to his head here. We're going to do that later on though. First we're going to change colour. So if we zoom out, we're going to go back to this layer, and I'm going to get you to just select the brush tool here. Aware that we've been recording for a little while. And if I get you to select, we'll go for a kind of a greeny colour, that colour here. We'll do a new layer and just use your brush to go over the top. Of course you can change the colour if you want to by using the layer options, but I'm just doing a quick way really. And I think we'll use a softer smaller brush for the edges. So once you've coloured all of this in, you should be able to change the colour. Kind of go round all of his mouth. We'll keep his teeth fairly colour free at this point. And we can go round and tidy this up. We'll just do it really quick. Obviously at the moment it looks a little bit ridiculous, but that's okay. And again, round here we'll just do it really quick to show you. And then of course you can go back and alter this slightly. Something like that. So if you try overlay now, we do get a bit of colour on there. Now it might be a little bit too green, so we'll try darken, or we'll just go through. I mean, I quite like that as well, but you can change. Soft light works quite well because we get a nice kind of skin tone there as well. So again, you know, go round, kind of tidy it up a little. We could put the layer back on the background, and you know, you could make sure you don't delete that though. You can take your time going around the edges. And so on. Because as you can see, I've kind of deleted it a little bit too far there. Now we can add something red perhaps to the top. We can add a little bit of colour around his eyes if you want to. So we'll add a little bit of red around his eyes. Obviously yours will look much tidier than mine. Something like that. Try multiply. Might be a little too red, but I'll let you play around with that. Something like that, okay? So again, you can keep adding to this. So we could, if we get some kind of like meat, something like that. You can kind of like cut this out. We'll add a bit of feather into that. So Control and X and then Control and V, we'll cut that out and we'll just get rid of the background bit, because I'm going to use this here. Maybe we could have done with adding a bit more feather into that, but that's okay. Right, it doesn't look very good at the moment, but looks a little bit light on there, so we'll try some of the other blending modes. Colour burn looks okay. Bit of overlay as well, and obviously you can keep playing with this. So I think maybe that green is a little bit too green as well, so we'll go through until you get the right one. And maybe take the fill down a little. Something like that. So that's a very basic tutorial really. You can obviously play around a little bit more, get the effects you want, until you get something that looks like that. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening.